Please don't touch that dial. I know when you saw the word economics, you might have panicked, but not to worry, it'll be fun. I'm Gil Mathew, Executive Director of the Economic Resource Council of Nevada County, and your host for All Things Economic. Today we're diving into a force that drives over 2/3 of the U.S. economy, consumer spending, and how our feelings about the economy might be at odds with the dollars we spend. Does your sentiment match your spending? If the economy is weak, we blame consumers. If it is strong, well, the government takes credit. We're also going to look at one of the most watched indicators of economic mood swings, the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index. What is it? Why does it matter? And how does it connect with what's going on in your wallet and the nation? Let's get into it. You've probably heard this before. Consumer spending accounts for about 68% of U.S. GDP. That means the money we spend on groceries, gas, clothes, electronics, vacation, restaurant meals, and even Netflix subscriptions forms the foundation of our national economic activity. Why is this such a big deal? Well, when we spend, businesses make money. When businesses make money, they hire people, invest in growth, and produce more goods and services. These wages get paid to workers. Then they go out and spend it again. This cycle fuels demand, and that demand is what keeps the economic gears turning. But how we feel about the economy and how we spend our dollars is not always the same. In this side, it's clear that in June, July, and August of 2023, consumer sentiment was drifting south, while spending continued to grow at a reasonable pace. Here's where I tell you, always check the data. And if you don't have time or inclination to check, call the ERC and we probably can give you the straight scoop. Be aware of the headlines. The press will call out this June, July, August 2023 weakness in the consumer confidence as an alarming piece of data. But there is no selling papers when you say, well, the economy's moving ahead in spite of consumer confidence. The distance between headlines and reality is often wider than the distance between the left side of the aisle and the right side. But nonetheless, the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index is closely watched by policymakers, so it remains an important index. Between January the 1st of 2020 and today, what is the lowest index the University of Michigan has recorded? Well, it was June 2022 at 50%. And the highest record was February 2020 at 101%. Maybe the shutdown the next month in March 2020 was to slow the pace of spending. I don't know, but it seems interesting. Here are the U.S. national consumer spending figures for the years 2020 through 2024, based on data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. In 2020, our spending was $14.2 trillion. In 2021, it was $16 trillion. In 2022, it was $17.5 trillion. And then in 2023, it moved up again to $19.6 trillion. Then in 2024, it was $20.4 trillion. So the trend line of consumer spending over the past 5 years has been steady, with very little variation. Only 1 month of consumer spending dipped, and that was in 2023, while the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index has fluctuated as much as 50%. What do we do with this seemingly competing data? Well, it requires us to look at more data and other factors, and the consequences of that make the whole business accurately measuring economic trends more complicated. Things such as the number of new businesses started and the quantity of hard investment in startups might be data that could help shine light on the subject, but data in these areas is more difficult to find. One of the neat things about economics is that it's endless in its possibilities and finite in its terms of answers. And here's the kicker. Negative feelings can become self-fulfilling. Negative headlines create more negative headlines. If people feel uncertain and cut back on spending, businesses see less revenue. They might slow hiring, cut hours, or raise prices to compensate. That in turn affects how we feel, and the cycle continues. This is why economists and policymakers, including the Federal Reserve, watch consumer sentiment so closely. It's not just about hard data, it's about how we interpret that data, how we respond emotionally, and how those feelings ripple through the economy. The next time you hear about consumer sentiment index rising or falling, know that it's more than just a number. It's a pulse check on how millions of Americans feel about the economy and how that feeling could shape what's next. Again, this is All Things Economic, and I am Gil Mathew, your host. Until next time, be well and be careful of headlines.